Chapter 693. Strangely, it was already sunset but Leah did not return. Ian, who went to look for him, did not return either. Even the three young ones and Burke, who were supposed to report back at this time every day, did not return. The disappearance of these few people caused the original journey to be delayed again. Gu Mengmeng vaguely felt that something was wrong and felt uneasy. "Hubby, why don't we go take a look?" Gu Mengmeng looked at Elvis and said. Elvis nodded and carried Gu Mengmeng in his arms. He did not know what happened to Ian and did not care why Burke and the three young ones did not return. But Lee's absence was a very serious problem. With Lee's personality of wanting nothing more than to stick with Gu Mengmeng, even if he heard Gu Mengmeng's but and escaped, he would not roll back without sorting out his thoughts for the entire afternoon. If Leo left Gu Mengmeng, he would either be dead or kidnapped. Gu Mengmeng would be heartbroken no matter which outcome it was. So Elvis's expression was very solemn. He had to find Leah. With that thought, Elvis transformed into his beast form and threw Gu Mengmeng onto his back. Gu Mengmeng knew that Elvis's sense of smell and hearing were the most sensitive when he was in his beast form. So without a word, she laid on Elvis's back and let him gallop into the darkness. The wind whistled beside their ears. It was clearly a warm season but Gu Mengmeng felt a chill. Her fingers seemed to be unable to withstand the blood. Her fingertips were white and cold. They galloped across the horizon under the hazy moonlight. Elvis and Gu Mengmeng used all their senses to search for even the slightest trace of them in the darkness. And when Elvis and Gu Mengmeng finally found Leah, they only saw him covered in blood and with bloodshot eyes. He was fully armed with his claws and fangs, looking very much like Naruto Uzumaki in Naruto. Like an Asura crawling out from hell, he trampled all the bones into a red spider lily. He seemed to have discovered Gu Mengmeng and Elvis, but he just stood there and stared at them. He did not move and his eyes were bloodshot. And beside Lee's feet, there was a grey wolf with its skin torn and flesh torn, four young ones covered in blood and an eagle owl with its wings folded in a strange posture. Gu Mengmeng was so shocked that she could not speak. She covered her mouth and did not know what to do. Elvis transformed into his human form and shielded Gu Mengmeng behind him. He frowned, glared and clenched his fists. He gritted his teeth and said, "Xiaomeng, I'm sorry. I might have to do something to make you sad." Before Gu Mengmeng could react to what was happening, she saw Elvis charging towards Leah. Without any hesitation, Elvis's claws went straight for Lee's heart. But Leah seemed to be prepared for it. With a tilt of his body, he easily dodged Elvis's attack. At the same time, he opened his mouth and bit Elvis's arm with all his might. Elvis felt the pain and retracted his arm with all his might. Then, he used his other hand to hit the back of Lee's neck. Leo loosened his grip abruptly and Elvis's palm landed directly on his forearm. With a crack, it was the sound of bones breaking. Elvis's hand drooped down like a pendulum, followed by a deafening howl of a wolf. Leah pounced forward and bit Elvis's throat. His eyes shone with a murderous glint, as if he wanted to kill him. Out of topic, this, on the first day of March, I unexpectedly caved. This is a miraculous coincidence. You have to believe that I did not do it on purpose, just like that, March was still very beautiful. Chapter 694. No! Gu Mengmeng roared and ran over immediately. Gu Mengmeng successfully attracted Lee's attention. He was stunned for half a second before he pushed Elvis away and ran towards Gu Mengmeng. Then, he carried Gu Mengmeng on his shoulders and sprinted in the opposite direction. Gu Mengmeng almost vomited from Lee's jolts but she did not stop his craziness. After running for an entire night, when the sun rose the next morning, they were already in an extremely dense forest. Leah gradually slowed down his footsteps and looked around in a daze. With furrowed brows, he placed Gu Mengmeng down from his shoulders. Looking at her pale face, his brows furrowed in heartache. Pursing his lips, Leah could not open his mouth to explain. How could he explain? He started drugging Elvis 7 days ago and made use of Elvis's absolute trust in him to weaken Elvis's body unknowingly so that he could not unleash his 5th-level orc powers last night so that he could steal her away. Her eyesight was so good, she must have clearly seen his despicable face yesterday. Now, what could he say to her? Gu Mengmeng leaned against a huge tree that required 5 to 6 people to hold hands and slowly sat down. She heaved a sigh of relief and looked up at Leah. Smiling, she asked, "Not running anymore?" Leah nodded slightly and did not say a word. He just quietly waited for Gu Mengmeng to question and blame him. "But, the next time you want to go on such a long journey, can you turn into your original form and carry me while running? My stomach feels so uncomfortable carrying you on my shoulders." Leah. Gu Mengmeng looked up and saw Li's shocked and confused gaze. She chuckled and said, "After running for an entire night, I am hungry and thirsty. Aren't you going to prepare something for me to eat?" Leah opened his mouth but the words he wanted to say were stuck in his throat. After a few twists and turns, they finally condensed into one. Leah looked around and saw a fruit tree not far away. The fruits on the tree were plump and moist. He quickly walked over and plucked 2 of them. Wiping them on his beast-skin skirt, he passed them to Gu Mengmeng and said, "Eat this first to fill your stomach. I will go hunting later and make more delicious food for you." Gu Mengmeng took the fruits and smiled with her eyebrows arched. She said, I didn't expect to be able to eat peaches here." "Peach?" Leah asked softly. Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "We had this thing at our previous place too, but it was not as big as this one." Gu Mengmeng took a bite. It was moist and the juice was sweet. She squinted her eyes in satisfaction and passed the other peach to Leah. "Oh, delicious. Here's one for you." Leah shook his head and just looked at Gu Mengmeng quietly. He was thinking, if he had been a little more selfish back then and let go of all the hatred and revenge earlier, when Mengmeng wanted to give him her one, he would have brought her away like now and hidden her in the deep forest, never letting the messenger of the beast deity appear. Then, would she not have to experience all that pain and torture, and could she have avoided all these years of wandering from place to place? Just like now, she would smile sweetly at a fruit and share one for him to taste. Leah pushed the peach back into Gu Mengmeng's arms, then planted a light kiss on her forehead. "Mengmeng, I love you. Mengmeng, I'm sorry." Chapter 695. Leah was taken aback. He shook his head and said, "I will never abandon you." Gu Mengmeng nodded in satisfaction. She took another bite of the peach and said, "Usually, saying sorry after saying, 'I love you,' is to break up with you. If you have no intention of abandoning me, then don't give me such a combination punch or else I will misunderstand." Leah did not expect Gu Mengmeng to have such a reaction. He could not understand her trick at that moment. After hesitating for a long while, Leah asked carefully, "Aren't you angry?" Gu Mengmeng had already finished the first peach. The peach pit was quite big and Gu Mengmeng kept it in her pocket. Then, she looked up at Leah and said, "Why should I be angry?" "Because you kidnapped me to go on a honeymoon and spend some alone time with me." From the story that Gu Mengmeng told Sandy in the past, Leah understood what a honeymoon was and what it meant to spend some alone time. In a certain sense, it was true. Leah nodded blankly, agreeing with Gu Mengmeng's words. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and patted Li's shoulder. She said, "You were so smug yesterday. Elvis will not let you off easily when we return. It's good that he is the first partner to maintain order in the family. As for me, since I'm out, I'll just enjoy myself." Leah thought that Gu Mengmeng would make a fuss with him, punish him or even kill him. But he never expected Gu Mengmeng to have such an attitude. Pursing his lips, Leah tried to ask, "What if I say we're not going back. Gu Mengmeng chuckled and touched the black wolf mark on her collarbone. She said, "You'd better think about how you're going to deal with the aftermath when Elvis comes looking for you." Leah did not say anything. He just kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, "All right, before he comes looking for us, let's go on a honeymoon and enjoy some alone time." Gu Mengmeng nodded and took a big bite of the second peach. Saint Nazaire was probably in a mess now. But Gu Mengmeng believed that Leah would not do anything to hurt her. There must be a reason for everything he did. But since he refused to say, she would not ask. What she could do was to give him absolute trust and not repeat the mistake of Nina's incident. There must be no more misunderstandings between them. For the next 3 days, Gu Mengmeng and Leah lived the same life as when they were dating. Every day, Leah would bring Gu Mengmeng around as if they were on a sightseeing tour, accompanying her to watch the stars, the moon and the sunrise. Hunt for her, cook for her, shelter for her. Gu Mengmeng did not ask what had happened that night or what they were doing now. She also never mentioned returning to Saint Nazaire. On the other hand, Leah was immersed in this happiness day after day. The malevolence from that night no longer appeared on his face. It was a quiet and strange night. Gu Mengmeng slept beside the bonfire while Leah used his chest to make a bed for her. His furry large tail covered Gu Mingming's body gently. Looking at her sleeping face, he could not help but frown. Crunch crunch. There was the sound of footsteps stepping on the withered leaves that had fallen to the ground. Step by step, it approached slowly. Chapter 696. Looks like she doesn't like the beast pet I prepared for her. Cole stood a distance away from the fire and stared at Gu Mingming's sleeping face without hiding, as if he was looking at something that belonged to him. He chuckled and said with a perverted pampering, "That's right, she always has good taste. In this world, only I am worthy of her liking." Leah gently retracted his hand from Gu Mingming's neck and slowly stood up. He faced Cole with a blank and lifeless gaze. "You are indeed the ninth highness blessed by the beast deity. You actually managed to snatch Gu away from that wolf." In a flash, Cole appeared in front of Leah at a speed that was almost as fast as teleportation. He grabbed his neck harshly and smiled, "You no longer have any value to live. Die in peace, ninth brother." Cole retracted his fingers slowly and decisively. His gaze was cold and the corners of his lips curved upwards. Lee's suffocating and dying look was so pleasing to his eyes. Suddenly, Cole felt a sharp pain in his chest. He looked down in disbelief at the sharp claws that had pierced into his chest. His battle instincts reacted faster than his brain. He swung the hand that was holding Lee's neck violently and threw Leah away. Leah rolled one round on the ground and then slid far away. But he still stood firmly on the ground and did not fall down pathetically. Looking at the blood stains on his hands, Leah smiled enchantingly like a ghost. He waved his tail and said, "Long time no see, my dear second brother." "You." Cole was stunned for a moment but quickly recovered. He chuckled and said, "You cured me of my poison." Leah looked as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world and said in disdain, "You overestimate yourself by using poison in front of a witch doctor." Cole narrowed his eyes and laughed coldly without caring about the wound on his chest. He said, "It doesn't matter. So what if you cured me of my poison? You are just a 3rd level orc and I am Cole at the peak of 5th level. As long as I kill you and replace you, everything will be over." Leah raised his brows and replied coldly, "Oh. Don't you regret not being able to see Meng Meng kill me with her own hands?" Cole gave a low laugh and said, "I thought that Gu would kill you in anger after seeing you kill Burke and hurt those 4 wolf pups in Elvis. I'm really looking forward to seeing your expression when you die in the hands of the female you love. Unfortunately, Gu seems to really like you. You made such a big mistake, but she didn't even scold you. So, I've changed my mind. Killing you is a small matter. I'll do it myself. With that, Cole suddenly charged towards Leah with a cold and sinister murderous aura. The difference in level was absolute. Although Cole was missing a tail and an arm, he could already easily control his balance and use his missing arm to make some compensatory attacks after these few days of practice. So when he attacked Leah head-on, the difference in their levels caused Lee's heart to be under immense pressure. He felt as though he was about to explode from suffocation. Instinctively, he gave in and knelt down, but there was another reason for him to fight against this instinct. His long and narrow eyes were filled with determination and cruelty. Leah slammed his palms on the ground and used the force to jump up. Aside from the topic, Cole, I heard that there are people calling me out in the comments section. Yeah, I'm out now. So, you wicked people, are you happy? Gu Meng Meng, if you die, everyone should be even happier. Cole, if it's what you want to see, I'm willing to sacrifice my life for you. But, are you willing to let your handsome and adorable son die with me? Gu Meng Meng gritted her teeth. Chapter 697. Lee's legs accurately locked onto Cole's waist and both his hands were under Cole's armpits to restrain his hands. His large tail was wrapped around Cole's neck and his entire body was like a rope, restraining Cole firmly. Cole jerked his head backwards and hit Lee's nose heavily. Blood spurted out from his nose, but Leah did not care at all. He tightened his tail and was determined to kill Cole. Cole narrowed his dangerous eyes and looked at Gu Meng Meng, who was still sleeping by the bonfire. He laughed coldly and released his 5th-level beast pressure, forcefully shaking Leah off his body. Lee's entire body was pressed into the ground and he could not even lift his head. It was as if every inch of his bones had been smashed into pieces. A mouthful of blood spurted out from his mouth, but there was a sly smile on his face. Lee's chest tightened and his eyes became unfocused for a moment. What did you do? Cole reacted instantly and grabbed onto Lee's neck to interrogate him. Leah had suffered serious internal injuries. He coughed and spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he was clearly weak, he had a victorious smile on his face. Hand over Qishuan's antidote and I will tell you how to cure your poison. Cole held his forehead and chuckled coldly. Half of his face was hidden in the darkness and he exuded a sinister and terrifying aura. As long as I replace your position by Gu's side, do I still need to be afraid of any poison? Cole slowly pulled Leah closer to him. His smile was twisted and sinister. Don't you know that Snake's tear of the beast deity is immune to all poisons? As long as I mate with her once, what poison can't I cure? Leah snorted without backing down. Seems like you don't know much about the tear of the beast deity. Cole loosened his grip and threw Leah to the side. He squatted down and used his beast pressure to suppress Leah. What do you mean? Leah spat out the blood and saliva in his mouth. Then, he placed one hand on the ground and the other on his chest. Gu Mingming's entire body is now filled with poison. If you mate with her, you will be poisoned to death. Cole laughed coldly and said, Ninth Highness, your lying skills are too bad. If she can't mate, how did you leave your mark on her ear? Lee's gaze was cold and filled with disdain. So what if I'm lying? Do you think you still have the ability to force her today? Cole frowned in disapproval and said, I did not force her back then, all the more I won't force her now. I just want to take your place. Leah frowned and clenched his fists tightly. Cole's current expression was far uglier and more twisted than when he had banished him back then, but he could not find the anger and hatred he had back then. Unclenching his fists, Leah shook his head in disdain. I have already given you a chance. It would have been great if you had obediently handed over Qishuan's antidote. At least, your corpse would have been intact. Cole did not have the time to understand Lee's words. His battle instincts made his body react immediately. His legs sprang backward and he ran far away. Leo was no longer at his original spot and was replaced by Elvis, who was emitting a murderous aura. Your hand. Cole was stunned. Chapter 698. Elvis and Cole were fighting. The destructive power of a fifth-level beast was equivalent to the effect of an atomic bomb being dropped on Hiroshima. Leo was not in the mood to watch the fight. He quickly retreated to Gu Mingming's side to protect her. But when he arrived, he realized. Gu Mingming had long woken up, but she remained in a lying position without moving. Gu Mingming then propped herself up and smiled at Leah. Can I wake up now? Leah nodded and said, you know everything. Gu Mingming reached out to support Leah. Are you an idiot? You knew he would come today, but you still drugged me during dinner. Leah gave a bitter smile. Although you are extremely powerful now, I still want to do my best to protect you. Gu Mingming sighed in exasperation. I could have just done it myself, but you just had to injure yourself all over. Leah shook his head. He hugged Gu Mingming gently. If I didn't injure myself, how could I coax you into forgiving me for acting on my own? Bam! With a loud crash, a huge crater was formed beside Gu Mingming. Turning her head, she saw Cole embedded into the ground by an external force. Meanwhile, Elvis was stepping on his shoulder with one foot, looking down at him from above. He was like a death god who ruled over all living beings, coldly watching over life and death in the world. Gu Mingming stood up and walked to Elvis. She hugged him gently and kissed his chin. It was a greeting after these few days of separation. Then, she leaned against Elvis's chest. Looking at Cole, she said, hand over Qishuan's antidote and I will let you go. Cole looked up at Gu Mingming. There was a destructive fervor in his eyes. He wiped the blood from the side of his mouth. Maintaining a smile that he thought was elegant, he said to Gu Mingming, "Ah Gu, do you think I am a coward who is afraid of death?" Gu Mingming was expressionless. I don't care if you are afraid of death. I just don't want to dirty my hubby's hands. So, give me the antidote and get lost. Don't ever let me see you again. Cole did not seem to be affected by Gu Mingming's words at all. No matter how sharp her words were, he looked as if he was enjoying listening to her sweet words. He replied, if you are willing to leave with me, not just the antidote, I can even give you the entire beast world. Gu Mingming chuckled and squatted down to get closer to Cole. You know, I inherited Snake's memories. In his inherited memories, there were many ways to torture people. I can easily make you suffer, but I won't let you die. Do you want to try? Cole opened his chest and smiled dotingly. It is my honor that Ah Gu wants to torture me. I will seriously enjoy every bit of your love and accept all the torture you give me. Gu Mingming was disgusted, she was really disgusted. Cole was totally a perverted and twisted masochist now, with a come and whip me look. Every word he said was disgusting. Gu Mingming took a step back. Her face was filled with disgust and disgust. Cole smiled triumphantly. Ha, so Ah Gu can't bear to bully me. Chapter 699. Gu Mingming glanced at him and asked, what do you want? It was the most ideal condition to be able to negotiate. She did not mind if Elvis really killed Cole, but she did mind if Cole was the only one who knew how to save Qi. Kiss of the ocean, love of the sky, soul of the forest, heart of the desert and spirit of the rocky cliffs. Gu Mingming's face darkened with every word Cole said. By the time he said the last word, Gu Mingming's entire face had turned as black as ink. Cole chuckled and stretched out 3 fingers. Be my female and stay by my side forever. I will give you everything in this world. Find the things I want and give them to me, or, let that little wolf cub sleep forever, neither alive nor dead. Which will you choose? Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists tightly and glared at Cole. Her chest heaved up and down violently as traces of the Beast King's aura leaked out uncontrollably from her body. Elvis quickly retreated to Gu Mengmeng's side and hugged her tightly, not caring about Cole's life or death. Xiao Meng, don't be agitated. Leave it to Leah and me. Elvis's voice reverberated in Gu Mengmeng's ears for a while, soothing her emotions like a warm spring. Slowly releasing her tightly clenched fists, Gu Mengmeng looked at Cole coldly and said, I will find these 5 things for you. But if you dare to go back on your words, I guarantee that you will suffer a fate worse than death. With that, Gu Mengmeng turned to leave. Elvis looked at Cole and ignored him. He just carried Leah and chased after Gu Mengmeng. Cole laid on the ground weakly and coughed out a laugh. Blood trickled down from the corner of his mouth and he casually wiped it away. Looking at Gu Mengmeng's back, his gaze was filled with a strong desire to win. He murmured softly, in the end, you will still stay by my side. Why did you have to go through so much trouble? Elvis had already arranged for most of the troops to return to St. Nazaire to settle down. Li's injuries were very serious and he was not suited for a long journey. So Gu Mengmeng and the rest were not in a hurry to rush back. They just found a cave to stay temporarily and let Leah recuperate. The fire made the cave very dry. Gu Mengmeng sat by the fire and looked at Leah, who was lying on the hay with a guilty look, and Elvis, who was sitting beside Leah with his head lowered and not saying a word. With a snap, Gu Mengmeng broke the firewood with her bare hands and threw it into the fire. This crisp sound scared the 2 males so much that they shivered. Are you going to tell me yourself, or do you want me to ask? Elvis suddenly raised his head and took a step forward. He was the one who came up with the idea. I was only in charge of beating people up. Gu Mengmeng raised her eyebrows and sneered, he's really quick at shifting the blame. Leah forced himself to sit up on the bed and trembled as if he was about to die. He coughed twice and said in a weak voice, Mengmeng, it's all my fault, cough cough cough, if you want to blame someone, blame me. Gu Mengmeng gave them a smirk like a wife and said, looks like in the years before I came, the rapport you two had developed included this. The first plan had been seen through. Elvis sat back on the bed awkwardly and Leah also laid back down obediently. There was a visual effect of pressing a rewind button, as if they had returned to 3 minutes ago. Snap! Gu Mengmeng broke another piece of firewood and threw it into the fire. Her gentle voice had a sinister threat. Leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist, oh. Chapter 700. The mastermind behind that stray beast attack was Cole. Elvis said. Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, I know, it was to pave the way for Burke to stay by my side. Didn't we already guess this long ago? Elvis shook his head and said, Cole wanted us to think this way, so he purposely left his scent on Burke. But in actual fact, Cole's real motive was to test your abilities and to drug Leah. Cole knew that Gu Mengmeng had inherited Snake's abilities, so it was understandable for him to use stray beasts to test her. But what the hell was he doing to drug Leah? Leah propped his body up and leaned against the wall. Although he was not as weak as he had acted just now, the battle with Cole had indeed taken a huge toll on him and he was very weak. Even his voice sounded a little weak and floaty, sounding very weak. That day, after you released your beast pressure, everyone fainted. It was at that time that Cole placed a medicinal bug in Forget-Me's ear. Gu Mengmeng frowned and asked, what medicinal worm? Leah said, an ancient secret skill passed down in the Snow Fox tribe. It can disturb a person's mind, allowing them to be guided and controlled by the Worm Master. Leo looked at Gu Mengmeng's concerned gaze and smiled very gently and blissfully. He was satisfied with Gu Mengmeng's concern for him, and also satisfied with her caring. This kind of worm is very difficult to rear. It must be soaked in a special medicine from birth. Only the tribe leader knows the formula of this medicine. Although the witch doctor has the antidote, as the illness is a slow process of amplifying one's original emotions. Under normal circumstances, the person who is drugged will not notice the change, and the surrounding people will only think that the person who was drugged was agitated by something and became very anxious. No one will care why a male becomes like this, everyone will just distance themselves from him and abandon him. Leah chuckled, as if he was talking about someone else's matter. Gu Mengmeng sighed and asked, "Then when did you realize that you had been drugged?" Leah pretended to ponder and said, "Probably, it was when I first showed jealousy towards Elvis." A slow process of amplifying one's original emotions. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head, so Leah had always been jealous of Elvis. Jealous that he was the first partner and could hug her at any time. Or was she envious that although he didn't get along well with the wolf pups, he still had his own offspring? As for Leah, although he had the title of partner, other than the mark on her ear, she did not seem to have given him anything else that could make him feel at ease. Leah seemed to understand Gu Mingming's first emotion. He waved at her and said, "My body is weak now, so I can't go over." "Then, can you come over and let me hug you?" Gu Mengmeng looked up at Leah. Leah smiled exceptionally gently. "If I hug you, I won't feel as much pain from my injuries." Gu Mengmeng stood up and did not say anything. She just walked to Leah obediently and leaned into his arms carefully, letting him hug her. Chapter 701. Gu Mengmeng didn't know how to reply, so she just listened quietly. Leah held the back of her head and kissed her lips. It was a very light and gentle kiss. That pair of long and narrow eyes stared deeply into Gu Mingming's eyes as he said gently, "But, the jealousy you gave me made me feel very happy." Thump thump. Gu Mingming's heart was beating rapidly. They had already been together for almost a year, but she still felt seduced when Leah was so close to her and said such passionate words of love. Leah pecked Gu Mingming's little mouth lightly before placing her on his chest. He continued, "So, when I became hostile towards Elvis because of this jealousy, I realized that I might have fallen into his trap. Later on, I realized that every time Burke appeared in front of me, the jealousy and distortion in my heart would be triggered uncontrollably. At that moment, I was already certain that I had been poisoned by Cole. Why didn't you tell me?" Gu Mingming's heart ached a little. A person needed the company of his family the most when he was sick, but she didn't seem to have done anything when he was sick. She just jumped into Cole's trap like an idiot while thinking that she could capture Cole. Leah rested his chin on the top of Gu Mingming's head and chuckled. "Silly girl, do you think I would tell you all these and let you spend more time on Cole? I'm not stupid. Why would I allow another male to occupy my female's thoughts?" Gu Mengmeng was rendered speechless by Lee's twisted logic. She retracted her arms from his waist and rubbed her face against his chest. Then, she asked, "So you decided to beat me at my own game and not detoxify the bug poison?" Leah chuckled. "You guessed half right." Gu Mengmeng looked up and asked, "Which half?" Leah replied, "Beating me at my own game was the right thing to do, but I already detoxified the bug poison. I'm not crazy. Why would I let Cole keep holding on to my lifeline?" Gu Mengmeng heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. "You're smart." Leah raised his chin proudly and smiled smugly. "Of course, I am the male of the messenger of the beast deity." Gu Mengmeng could not help but laugh at Lee's teasing. She suddenly recalled the proud look he had when he stood on the platform of the deity's punishment and announced to the world that he was her beast pet. Her heart warmed up to the max. Leah continued, "Cole instigated Burke to use Kanwo and the rest as a breakthrough point to get close to you. His motive was never to seduce you, but to stimulate the worm in my body, so that my emotions would rapidly fluctuate." "Ha!" Gu Mengmeng was a little surprised. She had thought that Cole had sent Burke to her because of her. In the end, it was actually because of Leah. Leah played with Mingming's little hand and said, "Ever since he used the name, you see Jean, to come to solder, it was destined that I would pay extra attention to him." Cole had purposely left many obvious marks on his body in order to make me pay attention to him. This is a kind of psychological hint, always feeling that he will snatch you away. So using him to stimulate the bug poison is the most effective. Gu Mengmeng frowned and asked, so ever since Burke joined Saint Nazaire, Cole had been scheming to use the bug poison to kill you? Chapter 702. Die in my hands. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. He wants me to believe that you hurt Heda and his brothers so that I will lose control and kill you. Leah shook his head and chuckled. Then it would be too easy for me to die. After all, dying in the hands of my own female is a form of happiness to a certain extent. It would be much better than dying in Cole's hands. Gu Mengmeng frowned. Then Leah said, Cole's bug drug mainly stimulates my jealousy. When a person's jealousy reaches its peak, it will definitely give rise to possessiveness. He predicted that I would kidnap you and hide you. But he did not expect that you would immediately return to their side after seeing me injuring the 4 little ones in Elvis. Gu Mengmeng frowned. She could not wrap her head around Lee's words and did not understand what he meant. Leah chuckled. He rubbed Gu Mengmeng's head. If you saw your sons and Elvis injured and killed me on impulse, that would just be the price I pay for my wrongdoings. But Cole wants you to abandon me. He placed Elvis, Heda, and his brothers and many other insignificant factors on one end of the scale. On the other end, there is only me, who had lost my mind and imprisoned you. He wants you to abandon me for Elvis and your children. You know, being abandoned is the real torture for a male. Of course, I, who was controlled by the bug drug, would definitely not let you go. I would do anything to keep you by my side. I would even threaten you and hurt you. In the end, you would not be able to tolerate it. Kill me and return to Elvis. As Leah spoke, he gently stroked Gu Mengmeng's stray hair. He chuckled. Now that I think about it, I'm really a little scared. What if you were really angry with me? One look from you is enough to kill me. Gu Mengmeng pinched Lee's waist gently. Now you know fear. Why didn't you inform me earlier? I could have cooperated with you guys. Ouch ouch, it's so painful. Leah magnified his own weakness by several times and looked at Gu Mengmeng pitifully. He bit his lower lip and looked as if he was being defiled by someone. He said tearfully, Are you trying to murder your husband? Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes and said, Yes, I should just strangle you to death. Leah pulled Gu Mengmeng back into his arms and whispered into her ear, If you really want to strangle me to death, go ahead. I'll do whatever you want, as long as you like it. Gu Mengmeng snorted and did not reply. Leah said, I am speaking the truth. If you want me to die, I will fulfill your wish. If you want me to live, I will protect you. My life and death, fortune and disaster, all depend on a word of yours. Lee's voice was soft, like a feather gently brushing past Gu Mengmeng's heart. Gu Mengmeng's temper was appeased by him and she cleared her throat. Don't try to bluff your way out of this. I'm asking why didn't you tell me beforehand? Leah kissed Gu Mengmeng's temple and said, Because. I also want to know, will you choose me? Or, will you abandon me? Gu Mengmeng was stunned. She looked up at Leah and asked, Aren't you afraid that I can't control myself and accidentally kill you? Leah chuckled and said, If you trust me, this situation wouldn't have happened. You will know that even if I am crazy, I will not do anything to hurt you. If I don't even have this level of trust in your heart, then I might as well die. Aside from the topic, the truth of the matter has been explained. Those little baddies who suspect that Leah wanted to hurt Elvis and Gu Mengmeng, leave a comment saying that you love me. If you say you love me, I will forgive you then. Today's update has ended. See you tomorrow. Chapter 703. Gu Mengmeng sighed and said, Because we did not trust each other enough, how many failures have we gone through? I have already learned my lesson, so no matter what my eyes see, my heart will choose to trust you and Elvis unconditionally. Leah hugged Gu Mengmeng and rubbed his face against her neck. Gentleness and contentment shone in the deepest part of his eyes. He kissed the side of her face and said, "Thank you, I love you." Gu Mengmeng leaned into Lee's arms and chuckled, "Don't think that I will let you off just because you said a few nice words. Why did you drug my dinner?" Lee's body stiffened, like a child who had done something wrong. He muttered softly, "You are afraid of blood, sigh." It was that perverted coming-of-age ceremony again. Ever since the coming-of-age ceremony scared her to tears, no matter how she tried to explain, Elvis and Leah were sure that she was afraid of blood. But the heavens knew that there was a 1,000-year lonely soul in her body, and it just so happened that this soul was the coldest and most bloodthirsty soul in the world. In her memory, there were so many bloody scenes that she had become numb to them and could not even feel a trace of it. "How did you know that Cole would definitely come today?" Gu Mengmeng could not be bothered to explain that she was not afraid of blood, because the two of them would not believe her no matter how hard she tried. Leah narrowed his eyes slyly and said, "Because he is greedy." "Ha!" Gu Mengmeng did not understand. Leah gently stroked Gu Mengmeng's hair and whispered into her ear, "He thought that you would definitely choose to abandon me in the face of such a great disparity between the two choices. But you didn't. Not only did you not abandon me, you even accompanied me to play around without any qualms. Your love and concern for me ignited the jealousy in Cole's bones. So, he would definitely appear to either snatch it or crush it." Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and asked, "So this was your original plan? You knew that I would definitely not abandon you and would definitely make a choice that would make Cole jealous?" A tinge of hesitation and fear flashed across Lee's eyes, but it was quickly replaced by luck. He chuckled and said, I believe that my Mengmeng will make me happy." Gu Mengmeng knew that no matter if it was Leah or Elvis or any other male in the beast world, they would always be worried about their own gains and losses in love. They were in a state where they could be abandoned at any time, so it was very difficult for them to have confidence. But even so, Elvis and Leah were trying hard to believe her. But, if the matter of the 5 treasures were to be revealed, would the confidence that they had accumulated with great difficulty still exist? Gu Mengmeng frowned, feeling a little worried. After all, Elvis was on the verge of going crazy just by getting close to the lake. Leah was hugging Gu Mengmeng from behind, so he did not see the slight frown on her face. But Elvis, who was facing her, could clearly see the melancholy and worry in her eyes. He slowly sat beside Leah and did not separate her from his arms. Instead, he held her little hand gently. His gaze was deep and gentle, but he did not say a single word. Leah looked at Elvis, then at Gu Mengmeng, who was in his arms. He searched his heart but could not find the jealousy that could make him go crazy. Smiling, Leah kissed Gu Mengmeng's left ear and said softly, "I feel that the way we are now is just perfect. If you are happy, I will be happy too." Aside from the topic, recommending an article by old friend Lu Xiaomei, King of Pluto's Tyrannical Love, a ghost knocks at the door in the middle of the night. It will be the second PK on the 1st of March. Everyone, please support and bookmark it. Sheng Wanmu had never thought that she would transmigrate into such a melodramatic era where evil spirits ran rampant. She was also married to Ming Hun. Luckily, she still had someone to rely on, so she would not have to go back to stealing. Lu Wuli, wife, what treasures do you want? Your husband will get them for you. Don't go out tonight. Xiao Mu, pervert. Get lost. I got some chicken blood and dog blood today, let's see if you like it. Lu Wuli, I like wife. Xiao Mu's face flushed red. This annoying pervert. Lu Wuli admitted his mistake with a sincere attitude. Xiao Mu, your husband has his own difficulties. Your husband did not want you to suffer any harm, so I did not tell you the truth. Sheng Wanmu packed her luggage. Excuses. I want to marry Ma Nkwe. You still dare to marry someone else. Is it because I can't serve you? Chapter 704. Gu Mengmeng composed herself. She did not want Elvis and Leah to worry, so she tried her best to hide the melancholy in her eyes. She asked, "There is one more thing that I am very concerned about. Cole kept talking about replacing you. What does that mean? Does he think that I will like him if he kills you?" Leah shook his head. "He wants to use the fox seductive fragrance to bewitch you and transfer your feelings from me to him. Which means, he wants to steal our memories and make you believe that you have always loved him." Fox seductive fragrance. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. "Didn't you say that you had already plucked off his tail and solder so that he could no longer emit the fox seductive fragrance?" Leah pinched Gu Mengmeng's chin. "Silly girl, the fox seductive fragrance is the fox seductive fragrance, but it might not be Cole's. Moreover, even if he still has his tail, the fox seductive fragrance he secretes can't steal memories." Gu Mengmeng was confused by Li's words. She had always thought that the fox seductive fragrance was similar to some kind of special drug in the modern world. It was only used to spice up fish meat. How could it have such an evil effect? Leah said, "The fox seductive fragrance of males exists to please females. And the fox seductive fragrance that can please females is the truly powerful thing." Gu Mengmeng glanced sideways at Leah. "So there are females in solder who are in cahoots with Cole?" Leah nodded in agreement. Gu Mengmeng closed her eyes. She started to filter through all the females in solder in her memory. However, she could not think of any of them that was particularly suspicious. She looked at Leah and asked, "Who could it be?" Leah stretched out 3 fingers. "There are only 3 females in the snow fox tribe who can secrete such a high-level fox seductive fragrance." Retracting the first finger, Leah said, "Cole's ex-partner, Jillian." Then, he retracted his second finger and said, "My brother's missing partner, Laisha, whose fate is unknown." Leah looked at his last finger. It was difficult for him to speak. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head to look at his eyes. However, she could not understand the forbearance in his eyes. She did not want to see him wallow alone. She could only use the hand that was not held by Elvis to hold his wrist. "What's wrong?" Leah snapped back to reality. He took a deep breath and forced a nonchalant smile. "Nothing. The other one is my father's concubine, Miranda." Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a moment. Mengmeng was stunned. She instantly understood that Li's forbearance stemmed from the humiliation. Leah tightened his arms around Gu Mengmeng, his eyes filled with unease and pleading. He said in a hoarse voice, "I didn't. I really didn't." Gu Mengmeng hugged Leah back and smiled warmly. She patted his back lightly and said, "How can the wisest person in the beast world, Sir Leah, have times when he is muddle-headed?" Long, beast, and you, bear, master. Your mating mark is on my ear. Isn't that the best proof of your innocence? I did not suspect you then. I won't suspect you now." Leo was taken aback. Suddenly, he laughed. He caressed Gu Mingming's left ear. His smile was filled with the joy of surviving a disaster. "That's right. My mating mark is on your ear. Every day, I tell you the sweetest words of love." Chapter 705. Gu Mengmeng twisted her fingers and thought for a while before saying, "I think Jillian is more likely." After all, she disappeared immediately after Cole was exiled. After all, they were once married, it's normal for her to help Cole. Leah chuckled and said, "Cole kept her imprisoned in the secret room and she even forgot how to morph into a human form. Why would she care about their relationship as husband and wife?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "There is a psychological illness in this world called Stockholm Syndrome. It means that in a situation where the victim is isolated and helpless, the victim will develop feelings for the perpetrator and even help the perpetrator in return. This feeling will cause the victim to develop a good impression of the perpetrator, develop a sense of reliance on the perpetrator and even help the perpetrator." Leah and Elvis fell into deep thought, as if they couldn't quite understand Gu Mengmeng's words. Gu Mengmeng said, "To put it simply, Cole imprisoned Jillian for a long period of time. His appearance represents food and water. Even if he speaks badly, it is the only form of communication for Jillian. He is the only thing she looks forward to in the long darkness. Be it pain or torture, he is the only sense of existence. As time passes, Jillian's reliance on Cole will become more severe, more desperate and desperate. In fact, in this twisted desire, there was even a strange kind of love. This is the conclusion of an expert on Stockholm Syndrome. Humans can be tamed." Elvis and Leah tightened their grip and Gu Mengmeng could even feel their palms sweating. "What's wrong?" Gu Mengmeng didn't understand. Leah said, "I regret it, it's too scary." Gu Mengmeng asked, "What?" Leah said, "If there's a flaw in my plan and Cole brings you away and imprisons you like he did to Jillian, then..." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and asked back, "Are you afraid that I will develop Stockholm Syndrome?" Leah felt uncomfortable at the thought of Gu Mengmeng falling in love with Cole with such a twisted mindset. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, "First, he has to be able to imprison me." Elvis and Leah were stunned. They forgot that Gu Mengmeng had the powers of a beast king now. How could Cole alone imprison her? He understood the logic, but he still couldn't help but worry. Gu Mengmeng heaved a sigh of relief and patted Leah and Elvis, saying, "Since we know that Cole has someone who can provide him with a high-purity fox seductive fragrance, we just have to be more cautious. The most important thing now is to find all the things that Cole wants and exchange the antidote for Huda." Elvis looked at Leah and asked, "Do you think Cole will hand over the antidote as promised after we have gathered everything?" Leah thought about it but shook his head. Qi Xian is the only card he has that can restrain Meng Meng. I don't believe he will hand it over. He will. Gu Mengmeng murmured and took a deep breath. Raising her head again, Gu Mengmeng had a solemn and calm expression on her face. She said slowly, "Because the 5 items he wants are part of the keys to open the doors of time and space." Opening the gate of time and space, these 6 words made Elvis and Lee's hearts ache. The overwhelming fear engulfed the uneasiness, corroding every cell in the body and every thought in the brain. She would leave, returning to the original world. As for them, there was nothing he could do. Chapter 706. Gu Mengmeng's eyes dimmed for a moment. She had always known that Elvis did not like children. Even though he was very happy when she was pregnant, but her painful look during childbirth was like a thorn in his heart that could not be removed no matter what. Sighing, Gu Mengmeng held Elvis's hand and said, "To open the doors of time and space, other than the 5 things that Cole wanted, I also need the tear of the beast deity and the key of the beast king. The only tear of the beast deity in this world is already in my body. As for the key of the beast king, not to mention that it does not exist in this world, even if it does. I will not use my child to open that stupid door." The tear of the beast deity was Snake's snake gallbladder. The beast king was the most favored child of the beast deity. Orcs who could reach this level could be said to be invincible in this world, so their deaths could only be voluntary. Just because of love, he had to cut open his chest and take out his gallbladder. Even the beast deity would shed a tear for it. The tear of the beast deity was famous. And in this world, there was only one beast king, Snake. His snake gallbladder was already in Gu Mengmeng's body. As for the key of the beast king, it must be a child with the blood of the beast king. This child could only be Gu Mengmeng's next child. So, as long as Gu Meng Meng was not pregnant from now on, the doors of time and space would never be opened. With this understanding, Elvis and Leo were slightly more at ease. But with Cole's sly and sinister character, who knew if he would think of other unorthodox ways? What if he used the fox's seductive fragrance to bewitch Gu Meng Meng again? What if he used other methods to force Gu Meng Meng to give birth to a child for him? Cole still had to be eliminated. Some things were not suitable for females to know. No matter how strong she was still their weakness. They could only protect her, coax her and treat her well. Sometimes, Gu Meng Meng also did not wish to have snake's eyes that could see through the vicissitudes of life in her heart. That gaze was too sharp, to the extent that some emotions that Elvis and Leah had tried so hard to hide were clearly exposed in her eyes. She started to understand the clarity in Snake's eyes that she couldn't understand back then. That was an insight that had been accumulated over 1,000 years. Gu Meng Meng heaved a sigh of relief. She held Leah with one hand and Elvis with the other. No matter how many sons I have, I will never give up on Qi Xian. So, we better think of a way to find what Cole wants. Elvis frowned and asked, what if he really goes back on his words? Gu Meng Meng chuckled. Don't I still have the beast deity as my father? If he dares to lie to me, I'll go back and complain to my father. I'll make him die without a complete corpse. Gu Meng Meng did not tell Leah and Elvis that other than opening the doors of time and space, these 7 treasures could also be exchanged for a drop of tear of the beast deity. If Cole could obtain any one of the 5 items, he could become the next beast king. How powerful would he be after obtaining all 5 items? Even Gu Meng Meng did not dare to think about it. In order to save her son, she personally groomed a demon king in the beast world. Was this considered as letting down the kindness that the beast deity mentioned? Or giving up on her own son for the well-being of the world? Sorry, even without the influence of Snake's bloodline, Gu Meng Meng would not be this kind. Chapter 707. Oh right, how are Burke and the kids? Gu Meng Meng asked. Elvis replied, Burke's injuries are not light, but he won't die. The 4 little ones were only knocked out by Lee's medicine and would recover after a few days of being unconscious. I asked Colin to bring them back to St. Nazaire to take care of them, you don't have to worry. Gu Meng Meng nodded and heaved a sigh of relief. After resting for 4 days, Lee's injuries were more or less healed. Gu Meng Meng leaned into Elvis's arms and said with some melancholy, Did you guys get injured often in the past? Why do I feel that after you guys got together with me, you never had a good time? Elvis rubbed Gu Meng Meng's little head and said, What silly words are you saying? It's normal for males to get injured. Leah also smiled and said, That's right, if I'm not injured, how can you feel sorry for me? Gu Meng Meng knew that they were comforting her again. Sandy had told her many times about Elvis and Lee's legendary deeds. Most of the time, it was about how the 2 of them cooperated to win countless dangerous battles and how many times they escaped from hellish situations. Sandy described them as Schwarzenegger's version of the Sol Dolua, overcoming all obstacles to build St. Nazaire's current state. But after meeting her, why did the 2 of them seem to be in such a miserable state, either injured here or there? Gu Meng Meng smiled and did not expose their little tricks. She just nodded and said, Since Leah is almost fully recovered, why don't we return to St. Nazaire first? I'm a little worried about the kids, and we need to plan properly to get what we want from Cole. Elvis and Leah did not reject Gu Meng Meng. They had always been like this, doing whatever she said and doing whatever she wanted. To go crazy with her, to mess around with her, even if it was hell, they were willing to risk their lives to accompany her. As long as it was her, anything was fine. The 3 of them used 2 days to return to St. Nazaire. After the accident at the previous memorial, she was schemed by Cole to go to Sauder, then to the Snake King Valley, then back to Sauder. She had finally settled the matters in Sodor and was about to return, but this incident happened just as she was about to reach her doorstep. It was just returning home. Why was it more troublesome than snatching a train ticket during the spring festival? As a result, when Gu Mengmeng stood in front of her cave, she felt dazed and unreal. "What's wrong?" Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's little face and asked softly. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "I'm fine, let's go home." Elvis placed her down and held her left hand while Leah held her right hand. The three of them entered the cave side by side. Yes, they used to go home like this. On the day Leah brought them back from the platform of the deity's punishment, both of them expanded the cave entrance with one punch each, just enough for their family of three to enter and exit side by side. Hede and his brothers were not at home and Gu Mengmeng was a little disappointed. She looked up at Elvis and asked, "Where are the children? Are you still at Sandy's?" Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's forehead and said, "Don't worry, the scent we gave off along the way is equivalent to telling everyone that we are back. Those bastards will definitely come back later." Gu Mengmeng nodded and did not reply. As expected, she still couldn't get used to the smell. Chapter 708. Elvis hugged Gu Mengmeng's waist and said, "You and Sandy can play at home, I will go hunting with Leah." Gu Mengmeng nodded in agreement. Leah and Elvis exchanged glances and walked out together. After exiting the cave, they transformed into their beast forms at the same time and ran forward. They were the rulers of the territory of Saint Nazir, and their long absence would make the other tribes restless. Now that they were back, they naturally had to declare their sovereignty. After running half a circle around the territory, the two of them stopped under a tree. Leah asked Elvis to wait under the tree while he climbed up the tree to dig out the bird's nest. It used its tail to form a temporary container and placed the egg inside. Then, it slowly climbed down. Elvis helped to take over the bird eggs and frowned, asking, "So little?" Leah smiled and said, "Mengmeng doesn't allow you to take everything at once, you can only take half at most. These are enough for Mengmeng to eat for at least 1 or 2 days. Tomorrow, when I patrol the territory, I'll just dig out other nests." Elvis nodded and did not say a word. Saint Nazir's territory was vast and it was not impossible to finish patrolling within a day, but the two of them did not want to leave Gu Mengmeng's side for too long. On the way back, Leah hunted another 2 ferocious beasts along the way. He and Elvis carried one each on their shoulders and continued walking home. Lee's expression was one of bliss. Having a place to belong to was a luxury, and he had this luxury now. Just as they were about to enter the tribe's residential area, Elvis stopped in his tracks. He frowned and asked Leah, "Why didn't you level up?" Leah was taken aback and turned to look at Elvis. After a while, he suddenly smiled and said, "You could tell." Elvis nodded. "When you were fighting with Cole, I did not rush out because I was waiting for you to level up. You had clearly reached the critical point and you just needed to work a little harder to break through. Why did you give up?" Leo lowered his head and his gaze landed on the few bird eggs. He said with some melancholy, "I promised Mengmeng that I would never let her be in a difficult position between us." "Elvis, I don't understand." Leah sighed and said, "Mengmeng is already strong enough now, no one can easily hurt her. Besides, don't we still have you, a 5th level orc, at home? So, it doesn't matter if I'm weaker. Was it alright?" These words could fool Gu Mengmeng. But Elvis clearly knew that the stray beast's attack had almost taken Lee's life, causing Gu Mengmeng to lose control of her emotions and unleash her beast pressure. Many of her enemies and tribesmen had died, and the one to bear the blame was not Gu Mengmeng, but Leah, who was not strong enough. Not only did everyone blame Leah for not being able to protect his own female, he even caused her to fall into a state of mental breakdown, causing the deaths of so many tribesmen. Elvis could clearly see the sadness in Lee's eyes. As a male, he did not believe that Leo would be willing to be called a burden to Gu Mengmeng because of his weakness. But he clearly had the chance, so why didn't he level up? What are you worried about? Elvis asked. Leo lowered his head and avoided Elvis's gaze. He chuckled. You're thinking too much. I'm not worried about anything. Chapter 709. Leo was taken aback for a moment and blocked Elvis's path. You can't be. You're the leader of the tribe and you're going to complain. Elvis nodded his head with a face full of righteousness. I feel that Xiao Meng seems to be quite happy every time you complain. So I've decided to give it a try. Leo was speechless. He did often complain in front of Gu Mengmeng, especially to Snake. But he knew that he said those things just to make Gu Mengmeng feel more at ease, so he was just fooling around. Don't let Mengmeng know about this. Elvis raised his brows. Why? Leo pursed his lips and sighed. All right, I'll tell the truth. Elvis did not say anything. He just looked at Leo quietly. Lee's shoulders drooped helplessly. I'm afraid that after I level up, I won't be able to resist the urge to fight with you. The absolute suppression of levels can prevent me from forgetting my place and having some unrealistic fantasies. Those fantasies might put Xiao Meng in a difficult position. I have to stop them at the root. Elvis laughed scornfully. He patted Lee's shoulder. Do you think I'll be afraid of you fighting with me? Leo shook his head. You won't be afraid. You've never taken a step back when it comes to Mengmeng. It's precisely because I know you won't back down that I don't dare to move forward. If we have a conflict, Mengmeng will be put in a difficult position. Elvis threw the prey he was carrying on his shoulder onto the ground. He straightened his body. If you continue to stay at the 3rd level, you'll still only have 10 years left. Can you bear to abandon Xiao Meng after 10 years? Lee's heart thumped. He shook his head with much difficulty. Who knows what will happen after 10 years? Maybe I won't even live past 10 years. Elvis said, Xiao Meng lost Snake. She's so upset that she still can't get over it. I don't dare to imagine what will happen to her if she loses you. So, let go of your useless worries. Quickly grow stronger and protect yourself. Don't let Cole take advantage of you again. I don't want to see Xiao Meng lose control because of you. I don't want to see Xiao Meng cry because of you. This is a mission given by the first partner. As a family member, you have no right to refuse. Leo looked straight into Elvis's eyes and after a long while, he suddenly laughed. TSK, what a domineering first partner. The appearance of the Snow Fox clan will become more and more beautiful as they level up. Aren't you afraid that if I really level up to the 5th level, Mengmeng will not even look at you? Elvis sneered and said in a provocative tone, you can try, if you have the ability. Leo did not say anything. He just carried his prey and continued walking home, a smile spreading across his face. So, Gu Mingming's first partner had to be Elvis and not herself. The decision back then was the right one. Even though the price he had to pay and the process was a little painful, it was still a good outcome. On the other side, after Leah and Elvis left, Gu Mengmeng carried Qi Xian and listened to Sandy narrate the events that had happened in her absence. Holding Sandy's hand, Gu Mengmeng said, Sandy, thank you for this period of time. These kids must have given you a lot of trouble. Chapter 710. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback for a moment. She and Sandy were not as close as before. Gu Mengmeng could feel this. Firstly, it was because Sandy had stopped Colin from participating in the rescue battle and she felt bad about it. Secondly, it was because Gu Mingming's mental age was more than 1,000 years old. She could not continue fooling around with Sandy without a care in the world. But there was one thing. Gu Meng Meng had never treated Sandy as an outsider. She was just not as close to her as before. This distance must have made Sandy very upset, right? But too many things had happened during this period of time. Gu Meng Meng really could not find the time to care about Sandy's feelings. As her bosom friend, this was her fault. Taking the initiative to hold Sandy's hand, Gu Meng Meng smiled warmly. You know, some things happened when I was in the Snake King Valley. It's very hard to control my emotions now. I'm trying my best to adapt to my new state of mind. I'm also trying my best to find my original emotions. But this matter is too difficult for me. Sandy might not know the details of what Gu Meng Meng had experienced in the Snake King Valley, but she had a rough idea. After all, Colin was once one of Gu Meng Meng's guards. In addition, she had always been concerned about Gu Meng Meng more than others. So although the truth that she pieced together was not complete, it was already the most she knew apart from the people involved. Sandy held Gu Meng Meng's hand with both her hands. Her palms were warm and soft. Her clear eyes shone with heartache. She said timidly, I want to do something for you, anything. Gu Meng Meng, tell me, what can I help you with? Gu Meng Meng smiled. You don't have to do anything. Your very existence already makes me feel very warm. After inheriting Snake's memories, I may have become a little colder. But you have to believe me. I don't hate you. I don't blame you. I'm also not trying to distance myself from you. I learned many things from Snake's memories. But I forgot how I should interact with others. Gu Meng Meng lowered her head and looked at Sandy, who was holding her little hand. Her gaze was filled with gentleness as she said, I am already very touched that you can hold my hand like this and listen to my helplessness. Sandy was a little emotional. Actually, she had always thought that Gu Meng Meng no longer wanted to be friends with her selfish self. But she said that her presence could make her feel warm. Sandy felt a lump in her throat and pounced into Gu Meng Meng's arms. She cried unbridledly and looked rather ugly. Wah! Gu Meng Meng, I thought you would never be friends with me again. Sob, sob, sob. You forgot, it's okay. Aw, aw, aw. I remember everything. Wah, wah, wah. I'll help you regain your memories, I'll help you. Before Sandy could finish her sentence, Leah grabbed the back of her collar and pulled her away. Sandy had been sobbing emotionally, feeling that the wall that had trapped her had finally collapsed and she could once again truly touch Gu Meng Meng. The joy of regaining her only friend made her feel nothing else in her mind. Until she met Lee's dangerous gaze, all the hairs on her body stood up. Her eyes were clear and clean after being washed, clearly saying, I'm scared. Burp, Sandy burped. Chapter 7:11. Gu. Sandy sniffled and looked at Gu Meng Meng pitifully. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed, feeling rather helpless. She tugged at Lee's arm and said, Sandy has always been afraid of you, so stop scaring her. Must you only be happy if I lose all my friends from being scared? But Leo was unhappy. He hooked Gu Meng Meng's chin, his long and narrow eyes as deep as the ocean. He slowly inched closer to Gu Meng Meng's lips but did not kiss her. His ambiguous and sorrowful voice flowed into Gu Meng Meng's ears, mixing with Lee's unique scent and dyeing Gu Meng Meng's face red. While I'm not around, you hugged my female, and took one of her paws, isn't that right? Or are you using this method to hint that Elvis and I did not serve you properly during this period of time, forcing you to seek warmth from a female? Gu Meng Meng suddenly realized something incredible. That was, Snake's memory had 1,000 years of killing and 1,000 years of loneliness, but towards something like love, it was almost a blank. Including the snake beasts a few generations before Snake, most of them did not know anything about love. Most of them would mate with female snakes and then lay eggs. They were not interested in females and did not care about eggs at all. The only one in his 8 generations who was tainted with love was his father Weirs, but he was also a case of extreme paranoia that did not end well. As a result, Gu Mingming's reaction towards Li's teasing was even greater than before. That feeling of her heart almost jumping out of her chest shocked and stunned her, as if she had opened the door to a whole new world. Looking at Leah, she felt as if he had a source of light. Gu Mengmeng, who had 2 partners, suddenly experienced the throbbing of an iron tree blossoming and an old virgin welcoming the warmth of spring for mating. Gu Mingming's teeth started chattering as she bit her lower lip. Leah was even more shocked than Gu Mengmeng. He had thought that Gu Mengmeng would generously reward him with the word scram, and then he would be ready to let go and prepare food for her. But the way she was looking at him with a red face, even though she did not say anything, she had teased him till he could not control himself. Cough cough. Sandy cleared her throat, sniffling as she stealthily carried Qi Xian away from Gu Mingming's arms. Then, like a staff member who had accidentally walked into the camera, she said to Hedda and his brothers, You guys better go home with mother-in-law today. Your mother is too tired and needs to rest." Although the 3 children were still young, due to the fact that there was no concept of chastity in the beast world, many families came to perform live when they were in the mood, so the 3 little ones roughly understood what was going to happen next. It was indeed inconvenient for them to be around. Thus, no one said a word and obediently followed Sandy out of the cave. After walking for a short distance, she saw Elvis, who had just brought back his prey. Canwa stopped in his tracks, raised his head and said, "Hey." Elvis stood in front of Canwa and looked down at this little brat, asking, "What?" Canwa rolled her eyes at Elvis and said, "My mother is lonely and cold now. If I were you, I wouldn't have time to care about this meat. Otherwise, when my mother warms up later, you won't have anything to eat." Elvis was taken aback. He sniffed and indeed found the scent of the fox seductive fragrance. Elvis frowned. Gu Mengmeng did not like him using the fox seductive fragrance, but combined with Canwa's words, thud. Elvis threw the processed prey on the ground and sprinted towards the cave. Aside from the topic, the author's words, boarding the train, please fasten your seatbelt train number, 4927799273 contact the management when boarding the train. Exclusive VIP seats for fans with 800 points, passengers, please take note, this train does not go to kindergartens. Children who are going to kindergartens are not allowed to board. Beep. Chapter 7:12. Canwa laughed coldly and picked up the meat on the ground. He looked up at Sandy and said, "Mother-in-law, our food for today is settled." Sandy poked Canwa's little head and said, "Scheming against your father like this." But Canwa did not take it to heart and said, "I clearly helped him." Sandy did not say much and just let the 3 children carry the prey that Elvis brought back and walked back to their own cave. From that day onwards, for 2 consecutive days, Saint Nazir seemed to have entered the mating season. Not a single female could be seen on the streets, and even the males who went out to hunt could not wait to rush home after finishing their hunts. Primitive and dispirited sounds filled the air above Saint Nazir, and the only one who held their ground was Sandy's family. No matter how Bode and Colin pestered her, Sandy still bit her lower lip and resisted her own desires even if her entire body was on fire. She said, "Gu Mengmeng handed the children to me, I have to take care of them. I promised. I will not lead them astray." The males in Sandy's family sat in a row at the entrance of the cave and scratched the wall. They must bring up this to Leah next time. Can you block the entrance of the cave when you are mating and not let the fox seductive fragrance leak out? Or you should just look after your own children and not care about the lives of others just because you feel good. On the 3rd day, the thick fox seductive fragrance finally dissipated and Gu Mengmeng, who was overly fatigued, and Leah, who fainted from the poison, finally woke up. Elvis's beast skin was casually draped over his body, looking loose and lazy. The outline of his muscles was faintly discernible and tempting one's imagination. His blue eyes were filled with fatigue, and when they landed on Gu Mingming's delicate face, they turned into a deep gentleness like the ocean. The corners of his lips curled into a doting smile. It was not hard to tell that this was a sign of physical and mental happiness. In the past, he did not think that there was anything good about Saint Nazir. He had only established a tribe together with Leah to kill time. This time, the situation was very tense and he did not have the time to care about homesickness. But after returning, he suddenly felt a sense of security that he had never felt before. There was no other reason but because this place was filled with memories of Gu Mengmeng. Ah, so this was the meaning of home. It could become a place to return to because there was a past that you could not bear to part with here. Gu Mengmeng laid on Elvis's chest like a lazy cat, allowing his large hand to caress her head. Elvis's fingers were in her soft hair, gently caressing her scalp. There was no lust, but it was full of love. Because he was poisoned, Li's face was a little pale, but he could not hide the smile in his eyes. He turned back to look at Gu Mengmeng from time to time, before continuing to cook for her in satisfaction. Thinking of that pleasure, Leah could feel his heart beating faster and faster. Well, the way she looked at him was beautiful. She was still worried that he was no longer the daddy Leah who could make her blush. Now, it seemed that he had been thinking too much. When it was time to eat, Oriton and Ian appeared on time. Leah frowned and glared at Oriton. "You didn't even bring any prey. Are you trying to share or freeload?" Oriton pointed to the direction behind him. Leah tilted his head and saw 2 large piles of meat that had already been processed. And the ingredients he used to cook just now were taken from there. Chapter 7:13. 2 days' worth of prey are all piled there. But you guys were busy mating and didn't have time to cook for me. Oriton sighed and looked at Gu Mengmeng with a deep gaze. Although his face was expressionless, Gu Mengmeng could feel a deep resentment. Was he blaming her for delaying his meal? TSK. A foodie's resentment was really. Leah shifted his body and blocked Oriton's line of sight on Gu Mengmeng. He lifted his chin and said, "If you look again, I will gouge your eyes out." Oriton was still expressionless. He looked at Leah for a while and snorted in disdain. "You can't beat me." Leah laughed instead of getting angry. He said with a sinister tone, "Have you forgotten, who is the one who cooks in our house?" With a thump, the disdain in Oriton's eyes cracked at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, it turned into a look of admitting defeat and trying to please him. He said, "You win, I won't look." Leah raised his head and snorted arrogantly. He then turned back to continue cooking. Ian shook his head and said, "What happened to your cold, cool and arrogant persona?" Collapsing over a mouthful of food. "Oriton, aren't you afraid of becoming a laughingstock if word of this gets out?" Oriton's eyes were fixed on the pot of meat stew beside Li's hand. He did not react much to Ian's words. Other than craving, no other emotions could be seen on his face. He replied nonchalantly, "If anyone dares to laugh at me, just bite them to death." TSK, so violent. Ian's face was full of disdain. He moved closer to Gu Mengmeng and stayed further away from Oriton. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. She felt that this was a rare moment of contentment and did not want to spoil it. It was just that outsiders thought that Oriton came to Gu Mengmeng's house every day because he was interested in her. But in fact, he only cared about her family's food. Who would believe that? The dignified messenger of the beast deity was breathtakingly beautiful. But in Oriton's eyes, she was not even comparable to a bowl of meat stew. But it was also because Oriton did not have that kind of thoughts towards Gu Mengmeng that Leah and Elvis allowed him to show his presence in front of Gu Mengmeng every day without using any extreme methods to chase him away. Ian placed his hands behind his back and leaned back slightly. He looked up at the sky with a sense of contentment and laziness. A gentle breeze blew through his hair, and the 2 feathers above his ears trembled slightly, revealing a kind of exquisiteness, as if he was a fairy under the sun. But his face was always sickly, making people want to ask him with concern, "Dear, did you take your medicine today?" "Gu Meng Meng," Ian said. "Ha." Gu Meng Meng responded with a single syllable. Ian glanced sideways and looked into Gu Meng Meng's eyes. "That Cole has been loitering around the outskirts of Saint Nazaire. Do we need to deal with him?" Gu Meng Meng frowned, the warmth in her eyes shattered. "He's alone." Ian nodded and said, "Yes, only one person, and he's very arrogant." Gu Meng Meng raised her brow. "Oh." Ian said, with his craftiness, "It is not difficult for him to hide. However, he has no intention of hiding at all. He is just moving around the outskirts of Saint Nazaire's territory unscrupulously. He is very comfortable." Gu Meng Meng looked at Elvis and asked, "Whose territory is connected to Saint Nazaire? Is no one doing anything about it?" Chapter 7:14. Gu Meng Meng played with Elvis's tail and looked at Leah. "Leah, what do you think?" Leah was stirring the meat in the pot while controlling the amount of salt. Hearing Gu Meng Meng's words, he turned around and smiled. "Acting so brazenly, I'm afraid he is certain that you will request to meet him. Thinking about it, it can only be because of Qi Xian." Qi Xian, Gu Meng Meng's heart skipped a beat. Qi Xian had been unconscious for a long time. Although his breathing was steady, as if he was just sleeping, he had become thinner and thinner recently. Could it be related to Cole? Elvis gently smoothed Gu Meng Meng's brows. "If you want to meet him, then meet him. If you don't, I will chase him away." Kill, he could not kill him for now. He held on to Qi Xuan's antidote. Although he did not care about Qi Xuan's life, he cared about Gu Meng Meng's feelings. It was probably because he was afraid of harming him. But not killing him did not mean he could not beat him. Beating him half to death to vent his anger was also good. At this thought, Elvis's blue eyes deepened, emitting a chilly aura. Gu Meng Meng sighed. "Let's meet him after the meal." It was not the answer Elvis wanted, but, as long as she was happy. Oratin finished half the pot of meat. Gu Meng Meng had a small stomach and was full in a few mouthfuls. Elvis and Leah each had a big bowl, accompanying Gu Meng Meng to eat. Leah played a cheap trick. He said he was weak from being poisoned and could not even lift his arms after cooking for an entire day. Hence, he laid on Gu Meng Meng's knees and insisted that she feed him. Feeding him was not a difficult task. The key was that Gu Meng Meng was leaning in Elvis's arms and Leah was lying on her knees. This position was especially tempting. Of course, it could also be that Gu Meng Meng was feeling guilty and blushing uncontrollably. She wanted to reject him, but Leah lowered his eyes as if he had been abandoned. He said resentfully, "It must be because I did not serve you well, so you punish me by not allowing me to eat, right? I know I should not have been unable to control my desires and secretly tasted the nectar, causing me to faint from the poison before I could satisfy you. I won't dare to do it again. Can't you forgive me this time? In the end, it's all because you're too alluring." Gu Meng Meng scooped a spoonful of meat and stuffed it into Lee's mouth. She could not let this fellow speak anymore. Gu Meng Meng's face was about to turn into a steam locomotive. As a result, when Ian brought Cole in, the scene that he saw was Elvis sitting on the throne like a powerful emperor, with a bewitching beauty in his arms. The beauty was teasing a coquettish fox. Their bodies exuded the scent of love that had yet to fade, and Gu Meng Meng's body had so many faint bruises that had yet to disappear, which made the scene look especially dispirited and evil, but it made Cole's heart flutter. Compared to Elvis who ruled over the world, he wanted to be Leah, who was trained by Gu Mengmeng more. Chuckling, his gaze landed on Gu Mengmeng's face, not concealing his possessiveness at all. Placing his right hand on his left chest, he knelt down on one knee and gave Gu Mengmeng an elegant European knight's bow. "Dear mistress, what can I do for you?" Chapter 7:15. Don't call me your relative, I don't have such a vile creature like you. Tell me, what are you trying to achieve by loitering outside Saint Nazaire? Gu Mengmeng's face was cold and her gaze was calm. She did not purposely emit any aura, but Snake's thousand-year arrogance had already seeped into Gu Mengmeng's blood. That insufferably arrogant aura of a natural ruler exuded from within. Even though it was small, it could not be ignored. Cole's gaze was ignited by that little face. No matter how many times he looked, he just wanted to possess her even more. She smelled so good. He could almost imagine how wonderful it would be if she were to enjoy herself on his body. Suddenly, a chilly murderous aura swept over. Although it was only for a moment, it successfully burst the dirty bubble in Cole's mind. Cole looked in the direction of the murderous aura and met Elvis's deep blue eyes. He smiled provocatively with slight disdain. Cole was still kneeling on the ground. He looked up at Gu Mengmeng and smiled. "I am worried that little Master Qishuan's body cannot withstand the exhaustion and cannot last until you gather the 5 treasures to exchange for the antidote. I was afraid that you would not be able to find me when you needed me, so I came to you myself." The spoon in Gu Mengmeng's hand paused for a moment, while Leah took the initiative to stretch his neck and put the spoon in his mouth, finishing the meat with loud noises. The royal consort leaned on Gu Mengmeng's knees like a drunkard and glanced sideways at Cole, saying, "Yeah, our little brat has indeed lost a lot of weight recently. Do you have any ideas? What are the conditions? Why don't you tell me honestly and not waste the air in our house?" Cole ignored Leah, as if he only acknowledged Gu Mengmeng's promises. For her son, Gu Mengmeng had to speak to him no matter how unwilling she was. "Tell me, what is the solution? What conditions?" Cole stood up with his back straight like a European noble prince. He did not give off the aura of a stray beast at all. He was still as elegant as ever. His smile was like the spring breeze. But Gu Mengmeng would no longer be bewitched by his smile. She believed that he was a good person. "I can wake little Master Qishuan up on the condition that he must stay by my side until you gather the 5 treasures and hand them over to me. Then I will return him to you," Cole said. "You want me to hand my son over to a despicable stray beast to raise?" Gu Mengmeng frowned, looking displeased. But Cole did not seem to mind at all. He only said, "Let the stray beasts rear him, or let him starve to death. You can take your time to consider, I am not in a hurry." Gu Mengmeng clenched her fists tightly as 10,000 alpacas galloped around in her heart. She couldn't understand what Cole was up to this time. What good could come of handing Qishuan over to him? Wouldn't he turn her Xian into a pervert? But if she didn't give it to him, she didn't even know where the 5 treasures were. Qishuan's condition obviously wouldn't last until she gathered all the items to exchange for the antidote. Gu Mengmeng was in a dilemma, but Cole was not in a hurry. He just stared at Gu Mengmeng with a faint smile. "Being able to make you worry about me is also a matter of honor." Gu Mengmeng heaved a deep sigh and turned to look at Oratin. "Go to Sandy's place and bring Qishuan over." Oratin didn't reply. He just walked away quietly and went to Sandy's house to fetch Qishuan. Chapter 7:16. Gu Mengmeng laughed coldly and said, Lord Cole is really skilled and bold. Aren't you afraid that I will kill you and snatch your son back after Qishuan wakes up?" Cole looked as if he was listening to Gu Mengmeng's words as if they were words of love. He replied gently and lovingly, "The antidote I gave little Master Cole is only temporary. He has to be fed again after a certain period of time. If I cut off the antidote in the middle, then the suppressed poison in his body will spread at a much faster rate. By then, even if the beast deity comes personally, he will not be able to save the situation. For little Master Cole, my beloved master will not bear for me to die, right? Gu Mengmeng was so angry that her teeth were itching, but she could not do anything to Cole. Gritting her teeth, Gu Mengmeng said, "Yes, I really can't bear to part with you, Lord Cole." A strange gentleness bloomed on Cole's face. He smiled coquettishly and said, "To be able to hear my beloved master say that, Cole can die without regrets." Gu Mengmeng closed her eyes, not wanting to see Cole for another second. Leah used his large tail to gently stroke Gu Mengmeng's shoulder. Then, he inched his handsome face closer to Gu Mengmeng and kissed her eyes. Then, he smiled and said, wash your eyes." With that, he gently pulled Gu Mengmeng's little hand into his own arms from Elvis's arms. He placed her little hand on his chest and then used his finger to pull open the half-opened hide on Elvis. Holding Gu Mengmeng's little face that was flushed after being stunned for half a second, he gently breathed into her left ear and asked, "How is it? Did you wash it clean enough?" Pfft! Gu Mengmeng felt that her nose was about to bleed. She grabbed the hide and covered Elvis up again. Her little hands trembled as she said, "Don't wash your dirty linen in public, don't wash your dirty linen in public." Elvis watched as she threw herself from Lee's arms and covered him with his clothes. He could not help but find it funny and also wanted to tease her. With one hand around her waist and the other holding her chin, he squinted his blue eyes and said in a deep and husky voice, "Last night, you didn't say that." Elvis's expression changed as he looked at her. "What did you say?" The fox's seductive fragrance would cause a person to secrete a lot of adrenaline, numbing a part of the brain and increasing the desire of the other part. However, this was different from drinking. There was no memory loss. She clearly remembered the 2 days of entanglement. With Elvis mentioning it in front of everyone, Gu Mengmeng could no longer maintain her cold and aloof image. She crawled onto Elvis's chest and covered his mouth with both hands. "Don't speak." Elvis's eyes darkened and he looked at Gu Mengmeng with an indescribable gaze. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback for a moment before she realized where her knee was. She bounced away and snuggled back into Lee's arms. Her face was like a ripe tomato as she buried it into Lee's shoulder. She felt like she was too ashamed to face anyone. Elvis and Leah exchanged glances and their hearts loosened a little. Luckily, they had found a way to stir up Gu Mengmeng's emotions. She seemed to be more sensitive than before when it came to matters of the heart. And all this, in Cole's eyes, ignited an even stronger jealousy. When Oriton brought Qixien over, Sandy, Bode, Colin and the 3 little ones also followed. Chapter 7:17. Gu Mengmeng took Qixien from Sandy's arms and hugged him for a long time before kissing his little head. Her gaze dimmed as she said, "I don't care who he is as long as he can keep my son alive." Sandy didn't say anything else and just tugged at Gu Mengmeng's hand and stroked Qixuan's head. This child had become very skinny recently. If he still didn't eat, he might really not survive. Gu Mengmeng carried the child and personally handed him over to Cole. Her height only reached Cole's chest and she had to look up to speak to him. "If anything happens to my son, I will definitely make you regret being born into this world." Cole carried Qixien in his arms with practiced ease. He tilted his head and chuckled. His eyes were filled with indulgence as he promised in a coaxing tone. "Don't worry, I will treat him like my own son and love him dearly." Gu Mengmeng knew that Cole was taking advantage of her in a roundabout way, but she had no choice. She could only laugh coldly. "Your own son." Ha, Elvis would never poison his own son. Cole leaned over and whispered into Gu Mengmeng's ear. "That's because you didn't want to leave him. Otherwise, in order to keep you here, he would be even more ruthless than me." Gu Mengmeng placed her hand on Cole's shoulder and exerted a little force. A cracking sound could be heard. It was the sound of bones breaking. Gu Mengmeng looked up with a radiant smile. Don't compare yourself to my partners. I won't be happy if I hear it. Cole's forehead was filled with beads of sweat, but the smile on his face deepened. I will remember this. I am a special existence that is different from the other partners to master. I will not compare myself to your other partners anymore. Gu Mengmeng didn't want to waste any more time with Cole. She turned around and returned to Elvis's arms. Closing her eyes, she said, Oritin, send the guest off. Oritin stood expressionlessly in front of Cole. He didn't say a word and just stared coldly at Cole. Actually, there was still a difference in levels. But when facing stray beasts, even if there was a huge difference in levels, there would only be anger and fighting spirit. There would never be any cowardice or fear. Cole had no intention of causing trouble. He just lowered his head at Gu Mengmeng, before carrying Qixin away. He had encircled a piece of land outside of Saint Nazir's territory, which was equivalent to taking over someone else's territory. This was actually a very serious matter, but the other party knew that they could not afford to offend Cole, so they could only swallow this fly and allow themselves to feel disgusted, deceiving themselves and pretending not to know about this matter. Cole dug a cave that was square in shape. It looked like the layout of the stone houses in Sauter. Although it was simple, it was still exquisite. Cole placed a pill into Qixuan's mouth and placed him on his knees. He gently stroked his back and muttered to himself, you have to live well. That way, if she wants to see you, she will have no choice but to come and find me. Ha, if you can really connect me with her, I will teach you how to become a king who looks down on the world. How about it? In the future, the world that she and I share will also be inherited by you. You will be the eldest and youngest son, and I will also give you the theocracy. How about that? My son. Chapter 7:18. After Cole left, Gu Mengmeng was a little listless. Sandy gave Bode a look and Bode said he wanted to bring the three little ones out to practice hunting. Kanwu and his brothers had been heavily protected by Sandy ever since they parted ways with Burke and did not have the chance to go out to play. Now that they were granted special treatment, they were naturally happy. They circled around Gu Mengmeng and wagged their tails, looking at her expectantly. Mummy, can we go? Gu Mengmeng knew that her sons clearly wanted to go, but even so, they still knew to ask for her opinion before heading out. They were probably afraid that she would be worried. Her son's thoughtfulness warmed Gu Mengmeng's heart. She rubbed their little heads. I'll let Uncle Oritin go with you, all right? Males had a natural instinct to worship the strong. Just like how Oritin worshipped Elvis, the three little ones also worshipped Oritin's legends. Hearing that their idols could go with them, they were naturally overjoyed. Gu Mengmeng looked at Oritin. Since you have to hunt, help me take care of my sons. Oritin stayed silent for a moment. If I bring them along, I can't guarantee the quality of the food. Gu Mengmeng's mouth twitched. Her sons were being despised, right? Uncle Oritin, don't worry. We promise not to cause trouble. We will just obediently follow by your side and learn. We can protect ourselves while you hunt. The one who spoke was Kanwu. This made Gu Mengmeng very surprised. After all, this Bun always had the demeanor of a gang's young master like, hey, I'm giving face to my mother, when he spoke to Elvis. Why did he look so adorable when he spoke to Oritin? Little Bun, I didn't expect you to have two faces. Oritin looked at Kanwu's eyes in confusion. Then, he looked at Elvis's eyes in realization. Being gazed at by a pair of eyes that were so similar to his idols made one's vanity feel satisfied. All right. His face was expressionless, but he was obviously in a good mood. Oritin turned around and left. The three little ones followed behind him like tails. Sandy instructed Bode to take good care of the children and not let anything happen to them. Bode was willing to be ordered around by his female. However, if one of the 3 little ones was their child, that would be even better. But since Sandy was especially worried about the 3 wolf pups, he would definitely protect them with his life. After the children left, Gu Meng Meng was like a deflated balloon as she leaned into Elvis's arms. Sandy sat in front of her and held her little hand. He frowned and his eyes were filled with heartache. That Cole is obviously up to no good. Now that he has Qi Xian in his hands, all the more you cannot touch him. Do you have any countermeasures? Gu Meng Meng shook her head. I thought about it before. The kiss of the ocean can cleanse and contain everything. Perhaps it can be used to neutralize the poison in Qi Xuan's body, but Qi Xian has yet to transform. Given his abilities, he cannot withstand the immense power of the kiss of the ocean. If I forcefully inject it, I am afraid that Qi Xian will explode, so the only way is to give all 5 items to Cole in exchange for the antidote. Chapter 719. Do you have any clues? Where are the things he wants? Sandy asked. Gu Meng Meng shook her head and sighed. If I had any clues, I wouldn't have returned to Saint Nazaire and would have gone to look for them directly. The main thing is, I don't know where to look. Sandy thought for a while and continued, why don't I get someone to send them to you? Gu Meng Meng looked at Sandy with a face full of confusion. Sandy said, to find 1 or 2 specific things in such a huge beast world is like searching for a needle in a haystack. Even if everyone in Saint Nazaire helps you search, the chances of success are very low. Why don't you just spread the news that whoever can help you find these few things, you will provide him with a year's worth of food. Your family's food is so delicious, everyone will definitely be willing to help you search. Gu Meng Meng chuckled and thought to herself, a year's worth of food. This kind of reward can probably only mobilize you and Oritin. But spreading the news was still feasible. With a great reward, there would definitely be brave men. This logic should be unchanging since ancient times. But what did she have that could attract everyone? Gu Meng Meng fell into deep thought, not knowing what to do. Leo waved his tail and walked to Gu Meng Meng's side. He squeezed himself between Gu Meng Meng and Sandy and sat down. Then, he said, you can use your status as the messenger of the beast deity to promise that you will grant a wish to the person who presents the 5 treasures. Elvis chuckled and said, are you opening the back door to welcome a new family member? Leah stretched out a finger and waved it lightly, saying, although most people will ask Gu Meng Meng for mating, but don't forget, in order to mate, you must first challenge her partner. TSK, guess if there is a single 3rd-level beast that can defeat you? Elvis laughed coldly and said, what if the one presenting the treasures is an extremely handsome man? What if Xiao Meng really likes him? Leo waved his large tail and said seductively and affectionately, in terms of beauty, there are not many who can beat me. If one really appears, in order to protect the most handsome position in Gu Meng Meng's eyes, I don't mind being a ruthless person. Cough, Gu Meng Meng choked and coughed twice. Elvis patted her back gently, only to see Gu Meng Meng, who was coughing to the point of tears, looking at Leo with a look of exasperation, saying, this is not the way to use destroying a flower. Leah shrugged and said nonchalantly, anyway, with the 2 of us guarding, I want to see who can enter this door. Gu Meng Meng chuckled. So the 2 of you want me to cheat a marriage? What was the difference between that and a badger game? It's wrong to play with other people's feelings. Leah smacked his lips. How can it be a sham marriage? You gave them a chance to woo you. If your partner can't beat you, it's because he's too weak. How can you be blamed? Gu Meng Meng tapped Lee's brow and said, twisted logic. Leah smiled and leaned back to cooperate with Gu Meng Meng's poke. Then, he bounced back and pecked Gu Meng Meng's lips lightly. Only then did he sit back down in satisfaction. He smiled at Gu Mingming's blushing face because of his little actions. Gu Mengmeng cleared her throat and said, "Then, what if they make a request that I can't fulfill? Something like bringing the dead back to life." Chapter 720. The next morning, all the members of the Eagle Owl tribe from Saint Nazaire set off. Birds had their own way of communicating, so they could spread the news faster and had a wider range. The only one who knew the way, Ian, went to the Snake King Valley to pass on Gu Mingming's words and order the snake beasts to spread the news of Gu Mingming's treasure hunt. At the same time, the messenger of the beast deity, Gu Mengmeng, obtained Snake's tier of the beast deity and was also the saintess of the Snake King Valley was also announced to the world. Gu Mingming's actions were a clear indication of her attitude. The Snake King Valley was no longer a forbidden place to live in seclusion, but a place under the protection of her, the messenger of the beast deity. Anyone who dared to lay their hands on the Snake King Valley would have to first get past Wabi, who was guarding the valley, and then ask her, the messenger of the beast deity, for permission. As a result, the Snake King Valley, which had already been rumored to be miraculous, once again became a hot topic. As such, within 10 days, the news of the bird tribe cooperating with the snake tribe for Gu Mingming's treasure hunt had spread throughout the entire beast world. Everyone had desires. Orcs were the same. Gu Mengmeng felt more at ease when the bustling search for treasure started outside. She went to see Qi Xian, who had indeed woken up. Cole, this pervert, treated Qi Xian surprisingly well. Not only did he provide for him to eat and drink, he even brought him to hunt and taught him skills. He did not spoil or mistreat him. If not for the fact that they were of different species, people would really suspect if Cole was Qi Xuan's biological father. But there was one thing. If Gu Mengmeng came to see Qi Xian alone, Cole would welcome her with all kinds of warmth and consideration. But if someone else accompanied him, regardless of gender, Cole would hide Qi Xian away, ensuring that Gu Mengmeng would not be able to find him. And for the next few days, Gu Mengmeng would not be able to see Qi Xian again. After repeating this a few times, Gu Mengmeng finally understood Cole's intentions. "You're here." Cole smiled gently, as if he was a wife waiting for him to return from grocery shopping. Even though Cole had been behaving like a stray beast ever since he raised Qi Xian, Gu Mengmeng became even more guarded against him. No matter how he expressed his goodwill, Gu Mengmeng would never say a word to him. Bypassing Cole, Gu Mengmeng directly entered the cave that Cole had dug out. Qi Xian was sprawled on the side of the bed for an afternoon nap. Sensing someone approaching, he immediately raised his head and pricked up his ears to look at the entrance of the cave warily. Recognizing that it was his mother, he relaxed and whimpered a few times. Only when Gu Mengmeng sat by the bed did he crawl into her arms. Qi Xian had yet to evolve and was the only one among the 4 brothers who was still in beast form. After Cole's training, his body had become much stronger. His fur was glowing and his eyes were bright and full of expression. One look and one could tell that he was living a good life. But even so, Gu Mengmeng still felt that she owed her son. She hugged Qi Xian and kissed him. "Your brothers miss you very much. Once I gather the ransom money, I will bring you back to reunite with your family." Howl, her son was her biological son, but Gu Mengmeng still did not understand what he was saying. Cole brought in a plate of fruits from outside and placed it by Gu Mingming's hand. He did not mind Gu Mingming's cold treatment at all. "The dry season is coming. Have you found a water reserve?" Gu Mengmeng completely treated Cole like air. She did not eat the food he gave her and did not reply to his questions. She only focused on hugging and kissing her son. Aside from the topic, let me report, our monthly votes in February were ranked 39th in the Shaoxiang overall rankings. This is a very good result. Thank you, my babies, for your support. March had just started and my babies had already voted for more than 10 monthly votes. They were indeed true fans. Thank you everyone. Chapter 721. There is an underground well in Sauter. Why don't you stay there for a while? Even though he didn't get a response, Cole continued to talk to Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng hugged Qi Xian in her arms and kissed his little face. Good son, continue sleeping. Mummy will leave first. I will come back to see you tomorrow. With that, Gu Mengmeng placed Qi Xian back on the bed and patted his back gently. She stood up and left without so much as a glance at Cole. Cole's lips curled up as he stared at Gu Mengmeng's back. He placed his large hand on Qi Xuan's back. Look, your mother is still throwing a tantrum with us. Looks like I have to work harder to coax her. Back in the cave, Elvis had already boiled water for Gu Mengmeng to bathe. Just like how Cole did not allow others to visit Qi Xian in the cave, Elvis and Leah also could not tolerate Cole's scent on Gu Mengmeng. So every time they visited Qi Xian in Cole's cave, they had to bathe immediately after returning. Otherwise, their faces would turn as black as stormy clouds. After a comfortable bath, Elvis placed Gu Mengmeng on the bed. Just as he was about to doze off, a familiar feeling suddenly dispelled his drowsiness. Gu Mengmeng sat up after putting on her snake skin. She quickly walked out of the cave and saw a familiar serpent that looked like *T slithering towards her. Hiss hiss hiss, the large head of a train spat out its forked tongue and a sharp attack headed straight for Gu Mengmeng's face. Without another word, Gu Mengmeng raised her hand and slapped Wabi to the ground. She raised her brows. How many times do I have to tell you? I hate snakes. I hate *T. I hate snakes that look like *T. Can't you just appear in front of me like a human? Why must you make me feel like I have scratched *T every time I hit you? It's so disgusting, isn't it? Cole did a somersault and transformed back into his human form. His body had shrunk quite a bit and there was a bruise on his chin. It was obvious that Gu Mengmeng had hit him too hard just now and disfigured him. Tisk, Wabi looked at Gu Mengmeng with disdain. Do you think I want to? The outside of the Snake King Valley is too dry, so if I don't use my beast form, I won't be able to walk fast. If I use my 2 legs to walk over, I would become a dried snake. Gu Mengmeng sat backwards and Elvis caught her firmly. His large black tail wrapped around her slender waist and his chest was behind her back. He picked up a piece of leather to wipe Gu Mengmeng's little hand that had just patted the shit, not interrupting. The weather outside is not suitable for you and you still came out? Gu Mengmeng asked. Wabi said awkwardly, the days after this will get drier and drier. Then it will be winter and I will hibernate. If I don't fight you now, I'll have to wait until next year. The corners of Gu Mengmeng's mouth twitched as she smiled. So you came all the way here just to look for a beating? Wabi blushed. Gu Mengmeng was right. Stubbornly refusing to admit it, he said, of course not. Oh. Gu Mengmeng looked at Wabi with a, please start your performance expression. Then other than an itch for a beating, what else do you want from me? Wabi stretched out 2 fingers. 2 things. Gu Mengmeng nodded and made a please gesture. Yeah, speak. Chapter 722. Gu Mengmeng's heart skipped a beat. Those fruits, was it the tree that Snake had kicked over? He had asked the snake beast to pluck all the fruits from the tree for her. Unfortunately, she could not finish them, so he had asked someone to bury them all. He had just wanted to give it a try and did not expect it to really germinate. Wabi felt rather awkward and did not look at Gu Mengmeng. He pretended to be nonchalant. He said, you like trees, especially that precious one. Now that it has sprouted, I am here to tell you. After all, if you are happy, he will also be happy. Gu Mengmeng smiled. Yeah, I know. Thank you, Wabi-Eye. Wabi-Eye lifted his head. Of course you should thank me for my painstaking efforts to deliver the message. But, you did not just say it, right? Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. Oh. You have already thought of thanking me before coming to me. Tell me, what do I have here that Lord Wabi-Eye covets? Wabi-Eye's expression was rather stiff. He said carefully, if the beast deity is your father, can you ask him, how is that person doing now? Ah, right. The people of the beast world believed in returning to the embrace of the beast deity after death. She said her father was the beast deity, so, Gu Meng Meng smiled. Alright, I will try. With that, Gu Meng Meng stood up and turned to enter the cave. Wabi-Eye did not expect Gu Meng Meng to agree so readily. He was stunned for a moment, thinking that Gu Meng Meng was going to open the altar to communicate with the beast deity. But why did she turn and enter the cave? Where are you going? Gu Meng Meng did not even turn back. Sleep. Wabi-Eye did not understand. He thought for a moment, perhaps opening the altar to worship the heavens was a physical activity and she needed to replenish her sleep. He had never opened an altar before, so he did not know. Hence, the awe-inspiring Lord Wabi-Eye squatted in the shade outside Gu Meng Meng's cave like an abandoned dog. He held a tree branch and drew circles on the ground, waiting for her to wake up. Rubbing his chin, Wabi-Eye smiled foolishly. So painful. It was about the same strength as him. On the other side, Gu Meng Meng called Leah and Elvis over. I am going to find my father to talk about life. I don't know how long I will be sleeping. If you two are busy, you don't have to guard me. With a deity like Wabi-Eye squatting at the door, any ordinary person would be shivering just by passing by. Elvis placed Gu Meng Meng on the prepared beast skin and covered her with a blanket. He said gently and dotingly, don't worry about these, sleep well. Leah and I will take care of the clan matters. Gu Meng Meng nodded, then slowly closed her eyes. Other than bidding farewell to Snake, Gu Meng Meng had never taken the initiative to look for the beast deity. Firstly, she was angry that the beast deity refused to help her save her son, and secondly, she blamed Snakel's death on him. But as time passed, Gu Meng Meng gradually got over it. The beast deity was such a high and mighty cheat system. It was never wrong to build a good relationship with it. Hence, Gu Meng Meng slowly entered her dreams with the mentality of gifting a gift to her leader. The white in the fog made it hard for one to know where they were. Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, my biological father is indeed my biological father. You let me in knowing that I wanted to find you. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.